the league does not support any party or candidate. Our object is to get as much information out to the people so they can make an informed vote, and that's our function. Tonight's debate is being recorded and will be made available to all of the local media. And unfortunately, we tonight did not have our voters' guides. They weren't available to us. So the local ones will be distributed around town in the libraries and different places. So they were, the local one was in the Sunday paper. So hopefully you benefit from that. It is that we had the league set up a vote 411, and you can go in and put your address in there and get a customized ballot of what it's going to be when you go to vote, which will be very helpful if you're interested in that. And get it at vote411.org. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I'm not going to stay here very long, but I want to thank all the league members that are here that are participating in setting this up and getting it going. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our moderator, Kayleen Ray.
Good evening. My name is Kayleen Ray, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's candidates forum and debate. Only contested primary races will be featured tonight, and only races at the county level. Please keep in mind that primary elections are held by the political parties to choose the candidate that will represent their party in the general election in November. When you vote in a primary election, you must choose which party primary you're going to vote in, either the Democratic or the Republican. And you may vote only once. In other words, only in one. And only once in one. As a result, each race is going to be among candidates of only one party. Because there are really 2 elections occurring for each office, it's always a challenge in primary elections to decide how to best present the candidates in a debate. Tonight, we will be presenting all of the candidates in contested elections for a position, both Republican and Democratic, at the same time. The candidates in a party will be seated together. We'll have the Republicans on my right and the Democrats on my left. So remember that these are 2 separate elections. You will not have both Republicans and Democrats on your ballot. Sometimes that's confusing in primary elections. Will the candidates for Constable Precinct 5 please take your places at the table? The candidates in this race are Mitch Johnson, Matt Macias, thank you, and John Ellen. These are all Republican candidates that will be on the Republican ballot. Okay, first of all, we'll have 2 minutes each candidate to introduce themselves. Mr. Johnson, would you begin, please, with the opening statement?
Well, hello to everybody. How's this? Oh, yeah, it's loud. Hello to everybody. My name is Mitchell Johnson, and I'm running for Precinct 5 Constable in Utah. I've lived in Utah over 30 years, been with Hays County law enforcement community for about 26 and a half. I have 36 and a half years of law enforcement experience. I have family, I have roots in this area, the Utah area, and that's why I'm running for constable. I would like very much for you to vote for me and let me be your constable. Thank you.
Mr. Macias.
Hello, folks. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and giving us an opportunity to express our ideas. I'm Constable Matt Macias III. I've been your Precinct 5 Constable since 2005. I currently hold a Master's Peace Officer certification. I have over 20 years of law enforcement experience, ranging from working as a jailer to patrol deputy, investigator, to serving as your constable. In that time, I've seen Utah grow from a sleepy little town to a busy and vibrant community with unique opportunities for its people. What I've also seen is that the people of Utah want to hold on to some old-fashioned values and ideas. Some of those ideas are limited intrusion of government and police in our lives. The purpose of the constable's office is the service of civil process and the execution of court orders and writs. We also serve as bailiffs to the justice court. I've worked hard the past 10 years to see that our duties are carried out while also respecting the privacy of our citizens. That means knowing what our specific job duties are. We in Butte are fortunate to have an excellent city police department, as well as a large number of sheriff's deputies specifically assigned to criminal law enforcement. This allows us to focus on the civil process duties which the office is mandated to perform. I've enjoyed serving as your constable in the community in which I've lived in for over a decade. I look forward to serving for many years to come and would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Ellen, and I'm also a candidate for the Precinct 5 Constable. And I'd like to thank the League of Women there. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here and allowing us the opportunity to be a part of this forum. Candidates like us just show up at these things and we forget how much work really goes into this. And the reason I say that, I just really want to express my appreciation for how hard you guys worked and all the work that you put into this. I have about 35 years in law enforcement. I started in 1977. I've held every rank. I've held every rank from patrolman to chief. I've worked in every area except juvenile, and the joke is there. My young son's here. He doesn't think this joke is funny, but the reason I work in juvenile is because I don't like my own kids, so I certainly don't like somebody else's. I don't know why he doesn't find that funny, but out of my 35 years, 14 of those are in executive and command level positions, 10 years in supervisory. I have about 6,200 plus training hours. I've taught, I'm an instructor also I've instructed in colleges and for about 3,600 hours, something to that effect. The reason I'm running is because at this point I'm a deputy in Precinct 4, which is Driven Springs. And I started that as a retirement job, and I found it very interesting. But working under Constable Hood, I found out how much a constable's office actually can do, and how hard we can work, and the things we can do for our citizens. And that's something that I'd like to bring to Butte.
We'll move on to the big questions. First question, Mr. Johnson, I'll start with you. What is the most important duty of a Hays County Constable?
I think as a leader of an office, such as the constable's office, is to maintain quality of law enforcement that you as the public require, need, and want. And in doing that, and also treat the public the way you want to treat them, with respect and dignity. And then in order to do that, I think training comes into play with a lot of things. We'll have that in place for the deputies and myself to go to more training and all that, not just the civil part, but the criminal part as well. Because I've worked both sides, I've worked civil and criminal. So I think that's where we need to be going, is working with people and getting close to the public and getting what you want out of the constable's office.
Mr. Macias?
I beg to differ a little bit with what my opponent has stated. I think the most important part of the job of the constable is the service of civil process, the execution of legal papers as mandated by the Texas Constitution, and also to serve as bailiffs for the Justice Court. I'm not here to be anybody's friend. I'm not here to walk anybody's dog. I'm not here to mow anybody's lawn. I'm here to do constable work. It's serious work that we need to take seriously. We always treat people with dignity and respect, and I expect my deputies to do that. I expect them to have the utmost of respect for people and their property and their liberties. We can't go around trampling on them. We're here to do a job, and we need to focus on it, and I think we have. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Councilwoman Macias has pointed out a couple of times that our legislative mandate is to serve papers and mail for the court, and it is. And that's a very important part, but it's a very small part of what we can do and should be doing. When I'm out talking to people, I find out that they're really hungry to have us out in their neighborhoods, patrolling, involved in their schools, and involved in the community. There's much, much more that the constable's office can do. Bear in mind, even though we have a very small legislative mandate, we're all full-fledged card-carrying peace officers. All three of us, match deputies. They do a good job. I know them both. They're both good guys. But there's a lot more that can be done. And I think it's time that we got involved in the schools and got involved in our community, and that we're responsive to the community needs and the changing community.
Mr. Johnson, you have 30 seconds for a vote.
In response to Constable Macias, yes, we are required to serve papers. My time as a constable code, I've served over 2,000 pieces of process, serving warrants, writs of execution, and these things. So I know what my duties are as a constable. What I'm looking at is how much further I can carry it. Because if we're going to keep it like it is, there's no point in me running for this office. Just leave it like it is, keep it the same mundane thing we got going on now. Thank you.
What impact does the increased growth of Hays County have on the constable's job? Mr. Macias?
The increased growth of Hays County forces us to look seriously at our budget and our resources, what we can do with those limited budgets and resources. I work very hard to be responsible with our money, and we always remember who we're working for. It's you taxpayers. Your hard-earned money is what pays our salaries and what allows us to do our jobs. And we need to keep a focus on it. And our deputies do have a couple of other things that we're involved in. One thing is our service to the senior citizens whose building is right next door. We're there every Thursday serving them. Also, we help when school lets out. Our deputies are there to provide an extra measure of safety and security for the children and the people and their parents that come to pick them up. We're proud of those two activities, but we don't lose focus on our job, and that's the service of civil process. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Again, Constable Macias is correct when he says that that's our job. It is our job, and we do it well, they do it well, but there's more that needs to be done. Because of the changes, because of growing the way we are, it's time that we formed strong partnerships with the community and with local law enforcement. The time for us to sit back and wait for papers to show up is long since passed. There's just more that needs to be done, more that's being done in the office I work in. To give you an example, last year we served 208 warrants. We served 369 civil papers. We did 2,300 calls for service directly to our office. We backed up the sheriff's office over 200 times, and we did close patrols and welfare checks 203 times. That's just an example of the things that we can do that we're already doing in Precinct 4 where I work.
Mr. Johnson? No, the question was, what impact does the increased growth of Hays County have on the constable's job?
Hays County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. We need to maintain and keep up with that. This means increasing calls for service, increasing court cases, increasing civil papers being served. any process to the courts, means that you'll be out there having to serve those papers. But along with that, training to keep up to date with the right, proper way of serving the process. And as a constable, I'd like to work with all the assets of that department in the Commissioner's Court to make sure that we have the things that are needed to get that done. Training, equipment, those kind of things are needed. And work with other agencies to get those papers warrant and whatnot served.
Mr. Macias, you have 30 seconds for your vote.
Again, I'd like to stress that we have a laser focus on our job, and I never forget who I work for. It's you people of the county and whose money we're spending. We don't drive around in $50,000 Tahoes like some of us in other precincts. My last truck was 14 years old when I turned it in. We do the best with what we have, and as my esteemed fellow constable said, we do a damn good job. Thank you.
Next question. Why would you be a good constable? Mr. Allen?
I believe I'd be a good constable. Obviously, I have all the qualifications for it. We all do, and I know you all know that. That's obvious, or we probably wouldn't be here. When I was asked that question by the Austin American Statesman, I said, you know, for me, it's really kind of simple. It's all about public service for me. This is probably going to be my last job. I'd like for my last job to be Constable of Precinct 5. It won't be this term. I'm not really that old. I'll be here for a few terms, but I expect this to be it. And what I would really want is to create a constable's office that you will be proud of, and a legacy. Not a legacy to myself, but a legacy to what happens when law enforcement and the community partner together and work together.
Mr. Johnson?
I'm on the same page with that, thinking that I want to build an office that people who we represent can come to us with whatever they may want, anything you need, we're going to try to help you with. I think that's one of the important things, is giving back to the public. I think I'm qualified for the job. As I've said, I've got 36 and a half years. I've worked with different agencies. I worked with the sheriff's office for 26 and a half, worked my way up to the ranks of captain. So I know how to work with the budget. And I've had to work with people in all phases, from homicide all the way down to burglary. And then serving civil process, you still got to treat people the way they want to be treated, the way they should be treated. Same way you want your family treated. And I think that's where I'm headed with this office, and that's what I want to do.
I am a good constable. You don't have to ask, why do I think I'd be it? I just am. We have an excellent office. We do excellent work. We don't get complaints. We don't park in handicapped zones and have a videotape. We don't stop people for no reason and question why they're carrying a rifle. You know, we respect people's rights. We do the job. We do it right. And I'm just, like Fuller said, I'm just a damn good constable.
Again, I would just like to point out the fact that I think the day to sit around and wait on papers is gone. I think there's more things that we can and should be doing. And the $50,000 Tahoe that you're talking about was mine. And the vehicle we traded in was 14 years old and about on its last leg. That was a very nice gift, thank you very much. But, you know, equipment has to be changed out. And Constable Macias, sooner or later, we'll have to get new cars. I'll have to get new cars. We all have to get new cars. We're all going to have to change out equipment. Hopefully, we can do that within the budget we have. But, you know, we can't just sit on our laurels and not move forward because we're focused on just our constitutional mandate. So there's a lot more that we can do. There's a lot more that we will do. Thank you.
Are there any audience questions for these candidates? Will you please come up to the center here, anybody that has questions, and you'll be approaching this podium here. You have 30 seconds to ask your question. I'd ask you to please state your name before you ask the question.
Yeah, hello, my name is Matt Ogre, and I live in Precinct 5. And it's kind of a two-part question, I guess. The first one would be to the city constable. You talked about the fiscal concerns of the county. I'd like to know what efforts you've undertaken that have, that your office has been a good steward of those resources. And to the challengers, sounds like y'all want to do a lot more. How much more is it going to cost us?
You have 1 minute.
Just an example of what we've done with your money. In 2008, when we were due for new vehicles, everybody ordered 2009 vehicles. Being the smart people that we are, we decided to get the current year vehicle. We saved $2,000 on each vehicle. We got AR-15s with that money. We got long rifles that we were sadly in need of. The following year, everybody ran to Commissioner's Court, and they all asked for extra money over and above the budget for their AR-15s, and we didn't have to because we saved it the previous.
Mr. Johnson?